Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice. Just to give you a quick little heads up, it looks like even before I got there, the Vichy French took care of their partisan issues. So let's send these guys back up here. They're marching back and forth a lot. Yay. Okay. And we're going to send this invasion fleet with those units down here. See about invading down here instead. Yep, we're going to switch a Jäger school over to a fighter unit setup. Oh good, we made it there. Now attack the garrison units here along the Volta River. Argentina, we would give them metal. Yes, you can have a little bit of metal. Air Force HQ's advance. Well, good. That helps out the Air Force overall with more organization. Good. We're doing an armor, various armor elements, improvements. Quite short. Oh, small caliber probably is what they want. Do a medium tank destroyer improvement first, though. Good, we won, but we stalled out waiting for supplies. That's one of the main reasons I'm going to do an invasion over here if I can, is so that it's going to be in British territory. And where there's a port here. Yes, where there's a port here. And then that way it'll be German occupied and I can run supplies straight in through to it. Is sort of the thought. Okay. 13th Waffengebirge Division der SS Handschar, Croatia number 1. Fighting knife is what that means. Was formed from Bosnian Muslims. It was training in France when a small mutiny was incited by partisan infiltrators, but was put down by the remainder of the division. In February 1944, it was sent to Bosnia, where it fought against communist partisans. Late 44, during frontline fighting in Hungary, major desertion started when the Germans withdrew, as many soldiers wanted to stay behind to protect their homes. Oh, okay. Fighting against overwhelming odds, the division eventually pushed back into Austria. So, okay, so I'm guessing from what they're saying here is that lots of deserters, once they were being pulled out of Croatia to fight in Hungary as a frontline unit, and their homeland was going to be savaged by partisans, and they didn't like that. Okay, sure, we'll form that. Form Division Brandenburg. By late 42, the majority of the regiment Brandenburg was being used as fire brigade duties, acting as elite infantry and plugging gaps in German lines. In February 43, the Brandenburgers were pulled out of the line and moved back to Germany. The regiment was being expanded again, this time become Brandenburg Division. The division's first commander was to be Major General Alexander von Pusten. The division was to be formed by 4 regiments. One regiment returned to the Eastern Front to resume duties as a fire brigade. One battalion was sent to Africa to continue harassing the Allies in the Mediterranean. The remainder of the division sent to the Balkans to engage in anti-partisan work. Where is this unit even currently? Sort of like to keep it, and I'd sort of like the additional stuff. Thinking it's one of the divisions I would have sent down here. Well, I can't even find it. It means it must... Where are you? You should be up. There you are. Oh, you should be down here. God, why the hell aren't you? Oh God, because that's a great division. You should not be stuck up there. God, no. Sorry, this is boring, I know. Skip ahead of a few minutes, but not too far because I may find it. If you're wondering why I just don't edit it out, well, running it through an editor and compiling it after it, just to cut a few minutes out of this, could take an hour or more just to run a just to cut it out. Once you, not necessarily me at the editor's time, but it running afterwards on my computer. So it's just that's one of the reasons. A few people have suggested that I edit these things a bit better. Not that I can't or won't or whatever, but it just, the time it would take. Well, I guess if I can't find this unit, it means I'm not really using it. So Ah, I know. It's not. Oh, it's all those Brandenburg units are all spread over my headquarters. That's it. Oh God. Oh God. I don't want to lose those. Getting ready for my invasion here. Like here. Don't want to lose that. No, 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 no. No, we're not. I want my Brandenburg division, sure, but I don't want to lose all my elite HQs and other things that I've attached, like here. Okay, that's 2 of the... What is it? 4. And if you think this is cheating, you're right. It is cheating. Can I justify it to myself? Not just, oh, I want to win or I don't care. Or it's... If you remember the description, that it's been used as a fire brigade on the East Front, which definitely means that they've been, what was it? Is that the... Yeah, that's the one I just fixed. Taking combat losses and all that good stuff as time goes on. Oh, did we? Oh, that's the Italian one. We're not losing the Italian commando unit and such. But if you've noticed, we're not fighting on the Eastern Front anymore, so we're not taking losses. We didn't have a Stalingrad loss. Or a Tunisia loss. And yes, I could say no. That would be a very legit thing to do. Again, just skip ahead here. Because yeah, we changed that one. Okay, so the third has been done. There's the Roland Battalion, so that is 3 of them. And now we need just the basic sort of 1st regiment there. This is not even like talking about justifying cheating like this, because this is cheating after fashion. It's not the worst possible case of it, but is we know to some degree what really happened in a lot of elements in World War II. As you listen to... Oh, right. That was probably the last one. No, that's just a generic commando battalion. And of course I could raise more of these right there. Oh, a bunch of other stuff. But, you know, I talked about, yeah, not everything we know, but we know a lot about World War II. And there we go. That's the 4th. We know a lot about World War II. And, you know, I've often talked about production, about we know, you know, I don't know, December 1942, how many Panzer IVs were made. But what we don't necessarily clearly have is how many they could have made in December 42, because, well, you know, could they have, and I don't know how the work shifts of it, could they have been more efficient in, say, American? Still using the same machinery, but the way they use it may be in a bit more in an American style. Or did, like, bombing damage happen either to the railways that transport things like steel or subcomponents that were made, or was some other factory bombed? You know, so what they could have made at that time had not there been the bombing, or had there not been, you know, had there been changes like we see here. Also, recruitment. Definitely some of the events that we're having wouldn't have happened because we got an outbreak. Things have gone very differently, and that kind of thing. But also, you know, talk about replacing combat losses or not. And if we haven't needed to replace combat losses, then that means, yes, we will take this now. We're paying a little too little for this, but all right. And see, like, I would say if we paid more for this division, then it wouldn't be okay. So these are around. Okay, so they really just gave us a bunch of specialized light infantry brigades. Not even the Brandenburg division. Okay. And Char. Yeah, that looks like a pretty good unit. Let's move them up to here. That'll be the closest one. Nah. Let's just send them down here. Okay, so yes, we'll take that, even though we don't really need this. And we will take Air Force. You know, we definitely want to take, well, I guess we could say no to these, but we do get the other bonuses. Okay, cremated commando unit, no. Hohenstaufen, that says Panzer Division. Excellent. That is not a World War II photo. That is basically a T-34. I think T-34-85, but the T-34 made to look like a Tiger tank. Notice the tracks are different. Notice the turret is way far forward. It's taken from some movie. So, yes, excellent. And upgrade. The 3rd Infantry Division to this. Yeah, notice I'm not changing. No, you spent all that time changing the names. I'm not changing everywhere the names because I'm not really trying to cheat my way through. Oh, wow. Hohenstaufen 54 ICs. Okay, that'll put a dent in our things. It's just, yeah, we could go through this process and create more commando units and replace them, but I just don't feel like doing that. Okay, we've won a bunch of those battles in Bosnia, and again down here as they ping pong back and forth. Okay, well, the Vichy had moved down bombers to help us out, but we're out of supplies again. Thank you, Vichy, but not needed. Did that main naval force make it back? No, they haven't made that back up there yet. Okay, rebase up to there. And also rebase up to there, I think. We shall do that. Now, we're creating basically a corps of heavy SS Panzer brigades. Yeah, obviously they don't have things like infantry with them, so they're not a proper full division. I want this to catch up to that to create a sort of a much better Kampfgruppe. Oh, did we lose some of this? Okay, well, yeah. Now, my first introduction to Baron von Munchausen came with a Terry Gilliam movie, The Adventures of Baron von Munchausen. If you don't really know who Terry Gilliam is, he's a director, producer, whatever. And his real sort of claim to fame is he was the only American member of Monty Python, the group. There's no person, it's a group of people. And he was the guy who created all of the animations that you see in the Monty Python episodes. You know, like the Bigfoot coming down and smashing something and all that. He did all of those animations, and he directed those things. Otherwise, so you don't see him in any of the skits. He was never an actor. I don't think he's ever really been an actor. But he made The Adventures of Baron von Munchausen, and it's a somewhat surrealistic look at the sort of fabled character. He also made one other movie that is another huge favorite of mine, especially I saw that was a bit younger of a kid. The movie Time Bandits. If you haven't seen that, that's good. It's about a kid who gets caught up traveling through time, through holes in time, and it's sort of a thing. So he's done those. I think only those two movies have any significance. Both excellent movies. So that was my introduction to Baron von Munchausen, and much more so in the Terry Gilliam movie than in this, because this is sort of a classic work influenced by Joseph Goebbels. That he didn't direct it or anything like that, but is in that in the other movie, it's the conflict between the romantic, and I don't mean as in love, but I mean as in the earlier form of the romantic, which is, how do I say it easily, sort of the adventurous spirit, if you will, and the that sort of fabulous tales and that type of thing, conflict between the rationalism and the evil opponent, which is sort of on his side, but the evil opponent is the rationalist. Everything is rational as opposed to emotional. Maybe that would be even a better way to say it, is Munchausen and that. And that is sort of the conflict that's set up in that movie. I know I'm talking about a movie that has nothing to do with this, but we're bringing it up because of this event. And so, and in essence, the opponent is sort of a political leader, and a sort of political rationalism versus political emotionalism. And which can be very much seen between the conflicts between, say, a monarchist and the socialist. The socialist wants a rational government, where a monarchist is government because of emotion. Now, people who are in both camps may want effective government, but it's sort of that kind of thing. Rationalism versus emotionalism would probably be better than at least modern terms for romantic. But this was a movie made. I'll read it. Munchausen is a 1943 fantasy comedy film directed by Joseph von Backe. Reich Minister of Propaganda Joseph Goebbels ordered the production of Munchausen in order to celebrate the 25th anniversary of UFA Film Studios, which released it then. It's the symbol for UFA there. One of my earlier attempts at event image creating. I've gotten better since then. And so that's the movie poster from it. And so this was actually a fairly big budget movie, and not just as an, ooh, we spent Reichsmarks to do it, which is a thing, but it's also budget as in costuming that is fairly good, and meaning but also takes resources. You needed a fair amount of soldiers to play earlier period soldiers in battle scenes and things like that. So was done at this time. Notice you get I'm not giving you a choice on this. This is one of those things that Goebbels has demanded. So even if you were at a place that was in a hard place, it was going to cost you a bunch of supplies. And so a couple of scenes from the movie, it was shot in color. This isn't a later colorized image. You can see the color isn't up to Hollywood's Technicolor of 1943. You can see like a good 1939, sort of the great movie year in Hollywood is 39. You see the Gone with the Wind, and the color is much better than anything the Germans were generally able to do in color film. So Baron Munchausen was an 18th century fabulist. That basically means a liar, if you don't know what fabulist means, who was reported not to age. I think there is a real person around this sort of legend, and he was a liar of all kinds of things, but all of that. So you've seen enough, you can do that, or you can hit the more. And so these two American audiences who watch old movies, the idea of nudity in movies, this is just topless nudity, but still nudity, is definitely not happening in 1943, but was happening in Europe. I mean, Europe, not in Britain, but in Europe. That was more common and definitely done somewhat rarely, but when they could find good enough excuses for it. In Nazi Germany, he traveled widely and had many adventures, including time in the Sultan of Turkey's court and harem. Sort of a look at sort of the for and the other within Nazi Germany. And he travels to the moon. One of Baron Munchausen's most outlandish adventures is his trip to the moon, which is shown in the movie with many special effects. I don't know how they did some of this. If she's talking to him, and there's ways to do double exposures on films, but that's really hard to do and get the perspective right. So this was pretty spectacular. Terry Gilliam's version, when he goes, is even more surreal. In some ways very Dadaist. His version much more so than that. Hans Oland, I believe, is the name of the... I should put some more text in with that. Is the name of the actor there. Rather famous German actor for the period. Worst snow is over finally. Okay. I think that means We're getting ready to invade Turkey. How is their supply situation? Okay. All things considered reasonable. We're putting in supplies into there, and then whatever is traveling across and through. We have this here. Okay, so I don't think we need to wait for our heavy panzer division or brigades to catch up. Thing is how we have HQs and other limited. But we'll let those get out of the way because that will become a situation here very shortly. But we are almost ready. Okay, twin engine aircraft. Or twin engine armament research advanced. Okay. That one. We're going back over here and yeah, we're gonna do the small caliber so we can get the improved light armor designs. Uh-oh. We lost a flotilla, but we took out the Nelson. They shot up Tirpitz a bit, but nothing else. Okay, good. Really damaged. I definitely don't want to lose any heavy ships, and I definitely don't want to lose any divisions. Uh-oh, we are inefficient research somewhere along here. Oh, extreme terrain probably, yeah. Well, that's been very helpful to us. Got a lot of these to do too, but I'm gonna go with heavy tank destroyers. How are we doing down here in South Africa? Okay, you are here, so you attack into there. You ran out of fuels while you stopped. You're pushing into there, you're pushing into there, and you're still pushing into there. Good. Yes, you may have energy. Okay, now that we have our... I'm going to wait for these guys to get here. How long? Until the 6th. Okay, a day. We're going to wait a day. And it's interesting. I've made a little bit of a study, not much, of Joseph Goebbels and his propaganda, and continuing to talk about Baron von Munchausen. At the end of the movie, yeah, I'll spoil it for you. You should be able to below in my list of a playlist. There should be a playlist, and I still think some of them have gone dead, but I still think there is a link to a copy with, I think it's in German, but has subtitles to the movie on YouTube if you want to watch the Baron von Munchausen. But to give away a little bit of the end, it sort of starts and sort of ends in 1943. That it's sort of the Baron himself telling his stories from the past. And then it's at the end of it, you sort of come back to this time period. And he's growing old now because he's decided that he's found the love of his life. And they're going to grow old together. And he's giving up all of his fabulous adventures. And times have changed in the rash. And it sort of harkens without having, because anywhere else doesn't have the character that's in the Terry Gilliam movie, the evil rationalist. But it's sort of like he is succumbing to the National Socialist ideal, and in this new day and age, and he's trying to fit in. So he's going to grow old and eventually die. Not in the movie terms, and he's not like ancient, but he's not going to keep living forever. And there's a propaganda message from Goebbels in that, and Goebbels' propaganda, unlike the way a lot of people talk about it and express about it, is very subtle. He's always very subtle. He rarely directly attacks the enemy in his propaganda. I'm not talking about his speeches, because he did a lot of inflammatory speeches. A bunch of the anti-Jewish movies that were made, he abhorred them, especially the ones that and are often attributed to, the Goebbels Nazi propaganda, but were these over the top, that the Jews are just some group of evil people and whatever. He abhorred these things because he thought that these were going to be ineffective propaganda. I mean, he hated the Jews. That isn't the question. It's just the way the propaganda portrayed that some of the stuff as Jews is sort of akin to rats and these other things. And he just thought these movies were very ineffective, and he wanted very subtle stuff, so that you're sitting in the theater and you're not realizing you're getting his sort of state propaganda within the movie. But you can look and see, like, the Turks are not very smart and things like that in the movie compared to the Europeans. And so it's very subtle. It isn't like a hitting over the head with a hammer saying that the Turks are evil or anything like that, but it's just a subtle propaganda that you're seeing in it. And that's how Nazi propaganda moved. And someday I'm going to make a series of events dealing with the Titanic, which was never completed, but even a bigger budget movie done during Nazi during the Nazi era, towards 43 or something, in 44 or whatever, when it's finally canceled, because it was a bloated budget, big thing that was getting worse budget wise. There's clips from it. I mean, they shot a good portion of it, but it was never completed. And they insert a German, and I think I talked about this before, a German character into the story. And it's an anti-capitalist screed, in that the reason the Titanic was sunk was because of capitalistic. You got to remember, particularly Goebbels, but the Nazis in general were anti-capitalist. They were socialists, as opposed to nationalists, or as opposed to national capitalists, or other types of state authoritarian capitalistic views. So that it was the greed of the company not providing enough lifeboats, and it was some other things, and shoddy workmanship or qualities. And that's so not the company of the Titanic. They lavish money on that ship, but they introduced, like, I don't know, a second or third officer who was German, who didn't exist, into this story. And it was also a bit of a anti-British movie as well, but it's as much or more it's an anti-capitalist movie. But the British are the capitalists, so they're the bad guys, not so much because they're British, but because they're capitalists. And so that's the way he did his propaganda, which was that sort of very subtle, that you don't really know. Yeah, we'll do the side shield armor now. Yes, yeah. You're not necessarily know that you're getting. Okay, the 346th Infantry Division Bud was formed in September 42 and served as an occupation, security, and coastal defense force in France. It fought in Normandy and was largely destroyed there in August 44. It withdrew to the Netherlands, where it was reformed and fought until surrendering to the British. Okay, yes, we'll take that. Romania allows conscription of ethnic Germans. The German efforts to exploit all manpower reserves, even outside of the Reich territory, for the struggle in the East were not confined to the armies of its allies, but also extended to foreign and so-called ethnic Germans for the German army. Romania, however, Volunteers for the German forces were throughout 42 considered deserters by the Romanian authorities. This, however, was resolved in April 43 after a visit of Antonescu to Hitler, where Antonescu in principle gave his consent to the release of ethnic Germans for German conscription efforts. By then, the Romanian Germans contributed to 54,000 men in the Waffen SS, the most numerous contingent of European volunteers. Okay, we do not need them. I don't know why do not need them reduces our relationship, and needing them, which they didn't want to give them up, but they lose the manpower. Yeah, we'll take that, mainly because, Romania isn't doing much, and probably won't ever be doing much in the future. So we'll take the manpower. Building that up. Okay, Yugoslavian parties are emerging strongly in Bosnia and Croatia. Ooh. Bingo. Okay. I like this. No, that'll be effective against partisans. These are the Italians. Once I moved them into Germany, I could upgrade the militia division. These are our Brandenburgers. They're just without supplies. One of the Faglan brothers. Yeah, we'll let them continue. Yeah, my previous objection, one of course, is my most major one, is lack of trains theoretically running through this territory, in that I can't just run supplies through it. Yes, there is the mechanism to deposit supplies in Greece, and then we can run. They did do this, but the other one was, as I thought, again, me sort of knowing the game, but not necessarily knowing the mods well, thought that there wasn't going to be too much difficulty, and we were going to get a lot of free units. Because if you keep all that German territory, you have a real, not a overwhelming, but a real need to keep. I'll move you to here. We may want you to invade now that we are no longer. Move you to a port. How are you doing? Oh, you should be promoted. I was the East Africa before. Yeah, we're gonna promote you. Promote you up, but let's replace you with Danny, old buddy. Yeah, but we'll send you. Well, we'll send you down here too, and we'll leave the militia garrison there. But the Munchausen movie is a good movie. I would say that. Again, it's subtle Nazi propaganda. But, you know, and I say that, and I'll say this, not all Nazi propaganda in and of itself is bad. Like I talked, they sort of diminish the Turkish foreigners in the movie. But you also look at the sort of the value that they were trying to exclaim, that he's going to settle down with he finally found the woman that he loved, and gonna have a family, and sort of that family value kind of bring my deepens. Okay, that sort of a thing isn't inherently bad. Okay, we're going to invade. This province has a port in it, Port Harcourt. And I'm going to hope to get ashore this time. Long-range aircraft production has advanced. Okay, good. So I've been thinking about starting through these. No, I don't want to do those. Manpower reduction, but more efficiency. Yeah, we'll do that. Okay, that we have to come around here. That's or get through Spain. They have not yet joined the Axis. Okay, well, now even though it's melting snow and mud, I think it's time to... Yeah, I'm almost thinking whether we would give them fuel in exchange for money. Okay, we've got more than enough fuel. At this moment in time, I am thinking of starting to prepare for the invasion of possibly Iraq and or Iran, but we're going to start here with Turkey. So yeah, I think we'll just start the invasion of Turkey. That way I can do a nice thumbnail and whatnot. So thanks so much for watching. Thanks for liking the videos. I do appreciate that. If you haven't already, subscribe. And of course, I'd love to hear your comments about whatever I've been talking about. I really do appreciate that. What I really love is when you guys talk to each other some about that, not just have me answer. I do feel I should, since you're kind enough to post here, to sort of answer you, even as just thank you for posting. But when you guys carry on a conversation, that really means I'm forming a community of an interest group, of people that are interested in these subjects, and that you can talk to each other and find it interesting. So thanks so much for doing that. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.